The sky burned red as the small ship fell through the clouds. Smoke poured from its engines and sparks flew across the metal body. Inside, the alien woman gripped her daughter tightly. Her heart pounded. She could hear alarms blaring and metal creaking. She had never felt so scared. "Mom, what is happening?" the little girl whispered, her tiny hands clutching her mother's arm. "I don't know, my love, but we will be safe, I promise," the woman said, though her voice trembled. The ship shook violently. A bright flash blinded them for a moment, and then a loud crash shook the ground. The ship slammed into the planet's surface, throwing them forward. Dust and debris filled the air. The little girl cried, hiding her face in her mother's chest. The woman's mind raced. She had to find a way out. Slowly, she opened the twisted door. The metal was hot and smoke filled her lungs. She pulled her daughter out, shielding her from the sharp edges and flames. Outside, the planet was dark and strange. The sky was not like her home. Red and purple clouds swirled above, and the air was thick and heavy. She looked around. The land was rocky, with twisted trees and glowing plants she had never seen before. The silence was deep, almost too quiet. We have to move," she said, trying to stay calm. She held her daughter close and stepped carefully over the debris. Every step felt dangerous. Rocks shifted under their feet, and strange shapes moved in the shadows. Her mind imagined creatures hiding, waiting to strike. She swallowed hard, trying to push away the fear. As they moved, the little girl clutched a small stuffed toy she had brought with her. The woman noticed it and smiled weakly. "At least you have your friend," she whispered. But her smile faded quickly as a shadow flickered behind the rocks. Her heart jumped. Something was watching them. She froze, holding her dot. "Tear tight." The shadow disappeared, but she knew it had been real. The alien woman had always been strong, but now she felt small and powerless. The planet was unknown, and they were alone. Night began to fall. The sky turned a deep purple, and strange glowing plants lit the landscape with eerie light. The woman needed to find shelter before darkness fully arrived. She spotted a small cave near a cluster of twisted trees. It was not perfect, but it was safe. For now. Inside the cave, she sat with her daughter close. She checked for injuries, but luckily, they were both unharmed. The little girl's eyes were wide with fear. "Mom, are we going to die?" she asked. "No, my love, we are together, and that is what matters," the woman replied, holding her daughter tight. She whispered promises of safety, even though she did not know if they were true. The wind outside howled through the trees. Strange noises echoed across the rocky landscape. Something moved near the cave, just beyond the weak light. Eyes? Or maybe it was just her imagination. She could not tell. She clutched her daughter, telling herself to be brave. Hours passed. Every small sound made the little girl jump. The woman tried to soothe her, but her own fear was heavy. She thought about their home, their life before the crash. It seemed so far away, like a dream she could not reach. Suddenly, a loud roar shook the cave. Rocks fell from the ceiling. The little girl screamed. The woman hugged her tightly, trying to calm her. The sound stopped as quickly as it had started. The woman's heart raced. What was out there? She whispered to herself, "We will survive. We have to." She looked at her daughter, who was trembling in her arms. She wanted to cry, but she forced herself to stay strong. She knew that fear could not control them. Not yet. Outside, shadows moved silently. Eyes glowed in the darkness. The plankton net was alive, and it was watching them. The woman felt it in her bones. She had no idea what waited for them tomorrow. For now, all she could do was hold her daughter close, stay quiet, and hope they survived the night. One thing was certain. This was only the beginning of their journey. The crash had brought them to a strange world, and survival would be harder than she had ever imagined. As she closed her eyes, she whispered, "We are together, and that is enough." But somewhere in the shadows, something stirred, watching, waiting. The planet was not empty, and the woman and her daughter were not alone. The first light of the alien planet was not like sunlight on her home world. It was soft, greenish, and made the rocks and plants glow faintly. The alien woman opened her eyes, still holding her daughter close. Last night had been long and terrifying, but they had survived, for now. She looked around the small cave. The walls were jagged, and small insects with glowing shells scuttled across the ground. The little girl stirred, rubbing her eyes. "Mom, is it morning?" she whispered, her voice small. "Yes, my love, it's morning. We need to move, find food and water," the woman said. Her voice was calm, but inside worry churned. They were alone on a planet she did not know, with no way to contact home. Every step they took could be dangerous. Outside the cave, the world was quiet, but not peaceful. Strange plants swayed even though there was no wind. Some of them had leaves shaped like hands that reached toward the sky. Small creatures with translucent skin darted between the rocks. They did not notice the woman and her daughter, but she could feel eyes watching. The woman took her daughter's hand. "Stay close," she said. The little girl nodded, clutching her stuffed toy tightly. Together, they stepped out into the glowing landscape. The ground was uneven and sharp. Every step made the woman careful. Her eyes scanned the horizon. She could see mountains in the distance, jagged and dark, like teeth. Between them lay a strange forest. Shadows moved inside, and the woman's heart raced. "Mom, what are those?" the little girl asked, pointing at a creature that hopped from rock to rock. Its body was round and soft, but its eyes glowed red. It made a small clicking sound that echoed in the quiet. "I don't know, but we will watch it from here. Do not touch anything," the woman said. She realized that even the smallest mistake could be dangerous. On this planet, she had no idea what could harm them. Hours passed as they moved slowly. The woman found small streams of water with strange purple liquid. She tasted it carefully first, then gave some to her daughter. It was sour, but safe. Food was harder. They found plants that looked like berries, glowing faintly. She risked giving them to her daughter. Hunger made her brave. The little girl smiled faintly after eating. For a moment, the woman felt a small relief, but the relief did not last long. The planet was not friendly. A sudden noise made her freeze. Branches snapped behind them. Something large moved in the shadows. Her daughter clung to her, trembling. She whispered, "Mom, is it coming for us?" The woman held her tight. "We don't know, but we will hide. Stay quiet." They ducked behind a rock. The shadows moved closer. The woman could see a shape, tall and dark, with many glowing eyes. It stopped and sniffed the air. The creature's body was covered in thick scales, and it made a low growl. Her heart raced. After a tense minute, the creature turned and disappeared into the forest. The woman exhaled slowly. She knew they had been lucky, but the planet had shown her a clear warning. Survival here would not be easy. As they continued, she noticed something strange. The trees in the forest seemed to form paths, almost guiding them forward. It was as if the forest itself wanted them to move in a certain direction. She decided to follow it, hoping it would lead to safety. The little girl's small voice broke the quiet. "Mom, I'm scared." "I know, my love, I'm scared too. But we have each other. That is the most important thing," the woman said, squeezing her hand. They walked for hours. The alien landscape was beautiful, but strange. Floating rocks hovered over small lakes. Plants emitted soft music-like sounds when touched. The woman wanted to pause and admire the beauty, but she could not forget the danger. Every sound, every shadow could mean trouble. As evening approached, the sky turned dark purple again. The glowing plants lit their path, but shadows grew longer and more frightening. The woman needed shelter, and fast. She spotted a large tree with a hollow trunk. It would be cramped, but it could protect them for the night. Inside the hollow, the little girl curled up with her toy. The woman kept watch at the entrance. The wind carried strange scents, sweet and bitter, and she could hear the faint rustling of unknown creatures in the distance. She whispered a promise to her daughter. "We will survive. We will find a safe place. I will never let anything happen to you." Her voice was firm, but her heart trembled. The forest outside was alive, full of eyes and secrets, and she did not know what tomorrow would bring. As she drifted into a light sleep, she thought she heard whispers in the wind. Words she could not understand, but they sounded like warnings. She tightened her hold on her daughter. For now, they were alive, but she knew deep inside that the planet had many dangers, and this was only the beginning. Somewhere in the darkness, something watched them silently, unseen, but close. The alien woman and her daughter rested inside the hollow tree, but the forest outside was restless. Strange sounds echoed through the night, low growls, clicking noises, and the rustling of unseen creatures. The little girl clutched her mother's arm, trembling. "Mom, I don't like it here," she whispered. "I know, my love," the woman replied softly, "but we must stay strong. We have each other, and that is what matters." The hollow tree was cramped. Its walls were rough, covered in a sticky moss that glowed faintly in the dark. The woman tried to make the space more comfortable for her daughter, pulling a few glowing leaves together as a small blanket. She could feel the tension in her daughter's tiny body. Fear clung to them both like a heavy fog. Outside, the forest seemed alive. The shadows shifted, and glowing eyes peeked from between twisted branches. Every sound made the woman's heart race. She had learned one thing: this planet was unpredictable. Anything could happen. Suddenly, a sharp noise shattered the quiet. A branch snapped close by. The little girl screamed, hiding her face against her mother's chest. The woman held her tight, straining her ears. There it was again, a low, rumbling growl coming closer. She knew she had to act. Slowly, she moved to the entrance of the hollow, peering into the darkness. A large creature emerged from the shadows. Its body was covered in thick, dark scales, and its glowing eyes reflected the faint light of the forest. The creature sniffed the air, sensing them. The woman's mind raced. She needed a plan. She whispered to her daughter, "Stay behind me, my love. Don't make a sound." The creature circled the hollow tree slowly, its claws scratching the ground. The little girl's breathing was fast, but she obeyed, staying silent. The woman held her hand tightly, feeling her tiny fingers tremble. Suddenly, the creature's eyes locked onto something behind them. The woman didn't know if it had sensed them or something else. The creature hissed and retreated into the forest, disappearing into the shadows. Her chest heaved with relief, for now they were safe. The woman knew they could not stay in one place for long. They needed a more secure shelter. She decided they would move before dawn. Wise. The forest was still quiet. She whispered to her daughter, "We will find a safer place. Soon, you will see." The little girl nodded, though her eyes were wide with fear. She tried to sleep, but every rustle, every shadow kept her awake. The woman stayed alert, her mind scanning the darkness. She had learned to read the sounds of the forest, the flutter of wings, the snapping of twigs, even the distant roar of unseen predators. Morning came slowly. The forest was bathed in a greenish light, strange but beautiful. Mist hung low over the ground, curling around the glowing plants. The woman stood, stretching her tired limbs. She carried her daughter, ready to move. As they stepped out of the hollow, the forest seemed calm, almost welcoming. But the woman knew better. She could feel the danger hidden beneath the beauty. They moved cautiously, stepping over roots and rocks. The little girl clutched her toy tightly, her eyes scanning the strange landscape. They passed strange flowers that hummed softly, and small creatures with transparent bodies that shimmered in the light. The woman marveled for a moment, but her focus returned quickly to survival. Suddenly, a loud screech echoed through the forest. Both mother and daughter froze. From the treetops, several winged creatures swooped down, their claws sharp and dangerous. The woman grabbed her daughter, ducking behind a large rock. The creatures circled, then disappeared as quickly as they had come. Her heart pounded. The planet was full of dangers, and they were alone. Every step forward required caution. Every shadow was a potential threat. By late afternoon, they found a small clearing with a cluster of boulders. It was not perfect, but the space offered some protection. The woman gathered leaves and branches to make a small bed for her daughter. She told her, "We will stay here for the night. We must rest to keep our strength." Night fell quickly. The forest seemed louder, filled with whispers and distant growls. The little girl huddled close, her tiny body shaking. The woman straws. Cut her hair, whispering, "I'm here, my love. Nothing will hurt us if we stay together." But deep in the shadows, something watched. Eyes glowed with curiosity and hunger. The planet was alive, and it had noticed them. The woman could not see the creature, but she felt it, a presence that made the air thick and heavy. Hours passed. The woman kept a vigilant watch, her mind alert to every sound. The little girl finally drifted into a fitful sleep, trusting her mother's presence. The woman whispered softly to herself, "We will survive. I promise." Suddenly, a soft rustling came from the bushes. The woman tensed. Something was approaching, slow and deliberate. Her mind raced, imagining the worst. She held her daughter tighter, ready to protect her at any cost. The rustling stopped. Silence returned, thick and heavy. The woman waited, her heart beating fast. She did not know what had passed, but she knew that tomorrow would bring more challenges. As she closed her eyes briefly, the glow of the forest reflected on her face. She felt a mix of fear and determination. They were alone on this strange planet, but they had each other. That bond was stronger than any danger lurking in the shadows. And somewhere in the darkness, the creature waited, patient, hungry, watching. The alien woman and her daughter had just settled in a small clearing after another long day. The glowing plants gave faint light, and the forest seemed quieter than usual. For a moment, she allowed herself to believe they might survive another night in peace. Her daughter rested against her shoulder, eyes heavy with exhaustion. "Mom, do you think someone will find us?" she whispered. I don't know, my love," the woman admitted. "But we must keep moving. We can't stay in one place too long. It's safer that way." The forest was alive with small noises, insects buzzing, leaves rustling, and distant growls, owls. But today, something was different. She felt a presence, something human-like, moving silently among the glowing trees. Her heart skipped a beat. "Mom, what is that?" the little girl asked, pointing at the shadows. I'm not sure," the woman said cautiously. She held her daughter close, eyes scanning the darkness. "Stay behind me." From the shadows emerged a figure. Tall and slender, it moved gracefully, carrying a small pack on its back. Its skin was pale but covered in strange markings that glowed faintly in the dim light. The alien woman froze. This was no creature she had seen before. It looked almost human. "Hello?" the figure said softly, raising a hand in peace. "I don't mean to hurt you. I've been watching." The woman instinctively stepped in front of her daughter. "Who are you? What do you want?" she demanded, voice firm but wary. "My name is Kale," the stranger said. "I am alone here, like you. I can help you if you trust me." The woman's mind raced. Could she trust him? The forest was full of danger and every being had its own rules, but the offer was tempting. She had no food left, and the sun was dipping lower. If he spoke the truth, Kale might be their only chance for survival. "Why should I trust you?" she asked cautiously. Kale's glowing eyes softened. "Because I've been where you are. Lost. Afraid. And I want to help." He stepped closer, but not too close, respecting their space. The little girl peeked around her mother's arm, curiosity mixing with fear. "Mom, can we trust him?" The woman didn't answer immediately. Her instincts told her to run, but logic reminded her they had nowhere safe to go. She decided to watch him carefully. "All right," she said finally, "but no sudden moves. We need to see your intentions." KL nodded slowly. "Fair, I understand. You need food, water, and shelter. I know a place nearby. It's hidden from the forest's predators. You'll be safe there, at least for a while." The woman hesitated. The forest was alive with eyes, and every step outside their small clearing could be dangerous. But hunger and exhaustion made the offer appealing. She looked at her daughter's pale face and made a decision. "Lead the way," she said cautiously. Kale moved ahead, and the woman followed, keeping her daughter close. They walked through twisting paths in the forest. Strange glowing plants and hovering rocks surrounded them, but Kyle seemed to know exactly where he was going. Occasionally he would stop, pointing out dangers they should avoid. A nest of glowing insects, a low-hanging branch with sharp thorns. Hours passed, and the forest grew darker. The woman's trust grew slowly, but she remained wary. She noticed that Kyle never looked directly at her daughter, only at the path ahead or the shadows around them. There was something he was hiding, she thought. Finally, they reached a small clearing. Hidden by tall rocks and thick vegetation, it was a safe space. A small stream ran through the middle, and the glowing plants lit it softly. Small fruits grew nearby, and the air was calm. The woman let out a breath she didn't realize she was holding. This is safe?" she asked. Kyle nodded. "For now. But the forest is always watching. You cannot stay long in one place." The little girl ran forward, picking some glowing fruits. "Mom, he's nice," she exclaimed. The woman smiled faintly, but her eyes stayed on Kale. "We'll rest here tonight, then we decide what to do next." As night fell, the forest came alive with sounds again, but they felt safer with Kyle nearby. Still, the woman couldn't shake the unease in her chest. Who was he really? And why was he alone here in this dangerous forest? Kale sat by the stream, silently watching the shadows. "I have seen others come here, but they never last," he said softly. "You are lucky to find me." The woman kept her daughter close, thinking about their long journey. She wanted to trust Kale, but the forest had taught her to be careful. Every shadow, every whisper could hide danger. She decided to wait, to watch, and to learn more before letting her guard down completely. That night, the woman slept lightly, her senses alert. The little girl rested peacefully, unaware of the eyes that still watched them from the darkness. Kyle stayed nearby, quiet and still. The forest held its secrets close, and the woman knew that trust, like survival, would come slowly on this strange alien world. Somewhere deeper in the forest, unseen and silent, a presence stirred, watching, waiting. And the woman knew, with a sinking feeling in her heart, that Kyle's help might come with a price. The morning mist clung to the glowing plants, making the forest look even stranger than before. The alien woman awoke first, her daughter still asleep against her chest. She watched Kyle move silently near the stream, gathering water and examining the ground. Something about him still made her uneasy. Mom, why does he know so much about this place? The little girl whispered, rubbing her eyes. I don't know, the woman said carefully, but maybe we need his help to understand it. Kale noticed them stirring and walked over, his glowing markings faint in the mist. This forest is alive, he said softly. It watches everything. It remembers who passes through and who survives. You must respect it, or it will punish you. The woman frowned. Punish us? How? Kale looked serious. There are creatures here that obey the forest. Some are hunters, some are worse. They can track fear, pain, or weakness. If they sense it, they follow. They will not stop. The woman's heart raced. She thought of the creatures they had already seen, the glowing eyes in the shadows, the winged hunters. Then why are you not afraid? She asked. Kale's gaze softened, almost sad. I have learned to move quietly, to hide, and to survive. But even I am not safe. This forest has its rules. You must understand them to survive here. The woman nodded slowly. Then, show me. Teach us. Kale hissed. I waited for a moment and then led them deeper into the forest. The glowing plants and floating rocks became taller and stranger. Some plants hummed when touched, vibrating softly against their skin. Others had leaves like mirrors, reflecting distorted images of their faces. This forest is older than anything you know, Kale explained. It remembers the beings that have lived here before. Some came and left, some stayed forever. The woman shivered. Stayed forever? Kale nodded. If the forest decides you belong, it keeps you. Some never leave, even if they want to. As they moved, the little girl clutched her mother's hand tightly. Mom, I don't like it here, she whispered. I know, my love, but we must learn its secrets. We can survive if we understand it. They reached a clearing filled with enormous plants that glowed like lanterns. Strange vines twisted in the air, forming patterns that seemed almost like writing. Kale knelt beside a cluster of glowing stones. He touched them lightly, and a faint hum filled the air. The stones vibrated with energy, sending ripples across the ground. These stones are the memory of the forest, Kale said. They hold knowledge. They can show danger, the path ahead, or even the creatures that stalk you. The woman stared at the stones in awe. Can they help us survive? Kyle nodded. Yes, but the forest does not give its secrets freely. You must earn its trust, or it will punish you. Every step, every choice, matters. As they moved again, Kyle stopped suddenly. His glowing eyes scanned the shadows. We are being followed, he said quietly. The woman tensed. By what? Kyle did not answer immediately. Instead, he gestured for them to hide behind a thick cluster of glowing plants. The little girl pressed against her mother, silent and scared. From the shadows, a creature emerged. It was tall and thin, with long limbs, and dark, reflective eyes. Its skin seemed to shift colors, blending perfectly with the forest. It sniffed the air, then turned its head slowly, almost as if sensing their fear. The woman's heart raced. She held her daughter tightly. Kale's hand rested on a small weapon at his side. The forest seemed to grow darker, heavier. Suddenly, the creature vanished, leaving only the faint rustle of leaves. Kyle exhaled slowly. It tests us, he said. It is curious. It can smell fear and hesitation. You must be strong. Never show it weakness. The woman nodded, determination filling her chest. We will survive, she whispered, no matter what. Kyle led them further into the forest. They reached a small cave hidden behind thick vines. Inside, the walls were etched with glowing symbols, some resembling creatures, others strange patterns she could not understand. This place has protected travelers before, Kyle said, but it only works for those who respect it. Stay here tonight. Rest. Tomorrow, we will move again. The woman settled her daughter on a bed of soft moss. We are safe. For now, she murmured. But even in this hidden cave, the forest's presence was strong. Whispers echoed through the walls, faint but clear. The woman pressed her daughter close, realizing that survival was not just about avoiding creatures. It was about understanding the secrets of this strange world, learning its rules, and respecting the power that surrounded them. As the little girl drifted to sleep, the woman stared at the glowing symbols on the walls. She wondered how much danger lay ahead and whether they could truly survive this alien planet. One thing was certain. The forest held secrets, and those secrets were deadly. And somewhere deep in the shadows, more eyes watched. silent, patient, hungry. The alien woman woke to a strange chill in the air. The cave, which had seemed safe yesterday, now felt trapped and heavy. Her daughter stirred beside her, still clinging to her toy. The glowing symbols on the walls flickered faintly, casting shifting shadows across the floor. "Mom, I don't want to move today," the little girl whispered, her voice trembling. "I know, my love," the woman replied, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. "But we must. We cannot stay in one place forever. It's too dangerous." Outside, the forest was alive in a way it had never been before. The glowing plants pulsed and shadows moved faster, almost as if they were chasing something or someone. Kyle, who had stayed silent through the night, approached. His face was grim. "They are closer," he said. "The hunters of the forest. They have tracked us. If we stay, they will catch us." The woman swallowed hard. She had grown to rely on Kyle's knowledge, but fear clawed at her chest. "How far to safety?" she asked. "Not far, but the path is dangerous," Kyle said. "You must be brave. Keep your daughter close. Do exactly as I say." The woman nodded. She took her daughter's hand, and together they stepped into the alien forest. The air was thick, and every sound seemed amplified. The crack of twigs, the rustle of leaves, even the distant growl of predators. As they moved, Kyle led them through twisting paths and over glowing streams. Suddenly the ground beneath them shifted. A hidden sinkhole opened, revealing jagged rocks below. The woman grabbed her daughter and leapt to safety just in time. "Be careful," she whispered. "Every step matters." Hours passed like this. The forest seemed alive, shifting to block their path, hiding dangers in every shadow. Strange creatures lurked, watching, waiting. Some had long limbs and glowing eyes, while others slithered silently, blending perfectly with the glowing plants. At one point, a creature with wings like transparent glass swooped down from above. The woman dodged, pulling her daughter behind her. Kale moved swiftly, creating a distraction that allowed them to escape. "We cannot stop," he shouted. "You dead. They will find us." Finally, they reached a steep cliff. Beyond it, the forest seemed to end, opening into a rocky valley. But the drop was dangerous, too high to jump safely. The woman looked at her daughter, tears forming in her eyes. "We can do this," she whispered. Kyle pointed to a series of narrow ledges along the cliffside. "We must climb carefully. One wrong step, and it's over." The woman held her daughter tightly and began the climb. Every rock was slick, every step risky. The little girl clung to her mother, frightened but trusting. Kale went first, checking the path ahead. Halfway across, the ground trembled. A low roar echoed from below. The hunters had found them. Shadows moved along the cliffside, glowing eyes following their every move. The woman's heart pounded, but she forced herself to stay calm. Panic would be fatal. "We're almost there," Kale shouted. "Keep moving." The wind howled, and loose stones tumbled down the cliff. The little girl cried, but the woman whispered, "We are strong. We are together. We can do this." Finally, they reached a narrow plateau at the top. Beyond it, the forest ended, and the terrain opened into a valley filled with strange, glowing vegetation. For a moment, they stopped to catch their breath, looking back at the forest they had escaped. But Kale's expression remained tense. "We're not safe yet," he said. "They will not give up easily. We must keep moving, find a permanent shelter before nightfall." The woman nodded, lifting her daughter into her arms. She felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. They had survived the chase, but the journey was far from over. Every step would require caution, courage, and trust. As they moved forward, the little girl pointed to a faint glow in the distance. "Mom, is that a house?" The woman squinted. It was not a house, but a structure of strange metal and glowing panels, half hidden by alien plants. Kale smiled faintly. "It is an old settlement, abandoned, but it will provide shelter for tonight." They approached carefully. The settees. Limit was silent, but it felt safer than the forest. The woman set her daughter down, letting her explore a small corner with soft glowing moss. For the first time in days, the little girl laughed softly. The woman watched, relief washing over her, but Kyle remained alert, scanning the horizon. "They are still out there," he said quietly. "The forest does not forget. We must rest, but only for a little while." That night, as the little girl slept peacefully, the woman sat with Kyle, staring at the glowing horizon. "Why do you help us?" she asked softly. Kyle's gaze was distant. "Because I was once like you, lost, alone, and I survived. But not everyone does. Some need help to escape, to survive." The woman nodded, understanding the unspoken warning. Survival was not just about escaping creatures or dangerous terrain. It was about learning, watching, and trusting only when necessary. And somewhere beyond the settlement, deep in the forest, the hunters waited, patient, silent, hungry. The final escape was not over. It had only begun. The alien woman held her daughter close, standing at the edge of the old settlement. The glowing panels of the half-broken buildings reflected softly on the cracked ground. For a moment, the forest seemed distant, almost peaceful, but she knew better. Danger still lurked beyond the edges, waiting silently. Her daughter clutched her stuffed toy, eyes wide and tired. "Mom, are we really safe now?" The woman sighed. "Safe for now. But we must stay alert. This place will protect us tonight, but we cannot let our guard down." Kale moved beside them, scanning the surroundings with his glowing eyes. "This settlement is old," he said softly. "Humans, or other travelers, once lived here. It is abandoned, but it will keep you alive tonight." The woman nodded. She lowered herself to the ground, setting her daughter on a soft patch of glowing moss. As the little girl explored curiously, touching the strange walls and glowing plants. For a moment, she smiled, and the woman felt a spark of hope. But the forest was not far behind. Rustling leaves and distant growls reminded her that survival was never guaranteed. The hunters were patient, silent, and always hungry. Kale motioned toward one of the buildings. "We can enter there. It is stable, and you can rest, but be ready. The forest remembers where you hide." The woman led her daughter inside. The walls were metallic, smooth, and lined with faintly glowing lines. Dust covered the floors, but it was safer than any cave in the forest. She set her daughter down, letting her explore a corner with soft moss and strange, glowing vines. As night fell, the alien woman sat near the entrance, her eyes scanning the shadows outside. She felt relief mixed with fear. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to think about tomorrow. But the thought of the forest reminded her that safety was temporary. Kael sat beside her. "You've done well," he said quietly. "Few survive even one day here. You've lasted longer than most." The woman looked at him, curiosity and suspicion in her eyes. "Why help us? You said before that you were once like us, but why risk yourself again?" Kael's gaze softened. "Because someone helped me when I was lost. I survived, and I want others to have the same chance, but not everyone deserves help. You showed strength, courage, and care for your daughter. That is why I guided you." The woman nodded slowly, understanding that survival was not just about avoiding danger. It was about choices, determination, and love. She hugged her daughter close, feeling the warmth of life in the small body pressed against hers. The little girl yawned, her eyes heavy. "Mom, can we sleep here?" "Yes, my love. Rest now," the woman whispered. She kissed her daughter's forehead and watched as she curled up among the glowing moss. For the first time in days, the alien woman allowed herself to close her eyes. She thought of the crash, the forest, the creatures, and the dangers they had faced. Every step had been terrifying. Every choice had mattered, and yet they were alive. Hours passed. The settlement was quiet, but the woman's instincts never rested. She listened to the hum of the glowing panels, the soft rustle of vines outside, and the distant whispers of the forest. It was a fragile peace, one that could be broken at any moment. In the early hours of the morning, she felt a subtle shift in the air. The forest outside seemed to sigh, almost as if it had accepted them, or was waiting for the right moment. She glanced at her daughter, sleeping peacefully, and at Kyle, still alert. A small smile touched her lips. They had survived, together, against all odds, and for that, she felt a spark of hope. But deep in the shadows of the forest, unseen and silent, the hunters watched. Eyes glowed faintly, and bodies moved like whispers. They had not forgotten. They would not stop. Survival on this alien world was never permanent. It was fragile, temporary, and full of danger. The alien woman knew this. Yet, she also knew something else. Her daughter's life, their bond, and her courage were stronger than fear. They had escaped once, and they could do it again. As the sun rose, casting soft green light across the settlement, the woman stood and looked at the horizon. Beyond the forest, beyond the glowing mountains, the world was vast and unknown. But she was no longer powerless. She had learned the rules of survival, faced danger, and protected her child. She whispered to herself, "This is not the end. It is a new beginning. We will survive. We will find a place to call home." Her daughter stirred, opening her eyes and smiling faintly. The woman hugged her tightly. "Together," she said. always together. For a moment, hope shone brighter than fear, but somewhere in the distant forest, the hunters waited patiently, silent, hidden, hungry. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, the alien woman and her daughter felt the power of survival, the strength of love, courage, and the will to live, and that was enough to face whatever came next.